You back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets and when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bus, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Friday Night Free Show has begun. And the immortal words of Keith Jackson, whoa, Nelly. What a wild day today. The National Hockey League trade deadline usually underwhelms and is usually a big-time disappointment of fourth-line players getting exchanged and hundreds of NHL insiders sitting on a desk with nothing to do, looking at their phones. Today, it was a wild day in the National Hockey League. And then not to be outdone, we have a big-time deal in the National Football League. If you're just getting out of jail right now and or potentially a coma, I don't know, who knows, but Geno Smith is now the quarterback of the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders acquired Geno Smith, and you know, with the NHL trade deadline, there was a lot of talk about extensions and, you know, why are players getting traded. And Geno Smith, it was just like last week that the Seattle Seahawks publicly stated that Geno Smith is our quarterback, right? Geno Smith has, a year left on his deal. He wants an extension, right? You know, he's going to play in the last year, so he wants an extension. And I guess Seattle were open to the extension, yet talks weren't going well. Yet I'll tell you what, like they clearly weren't that open to the extension if they let the talks break down this quickly and said, all right, we're just going to trade him to the Raiders, right? So, listen, McDonald goes in there. Geno Smith, not his guy, right? Not his guy. And let's be real. And, we're going to talk about this tonight, although we're jam-packed tonight with picks. But draft picks in the NFL matter. Draft picks in the NHL don't matter. Right? Unless you have like a top 5 pick in the NHL, anything past like the 7th pick in the NHL is a real gamble. Like you just don't know. And another thing is it takes like 4 or 5 years. Like seriously, think about it. Look at Indiana right now in Seattle. Shane Wright is starting to play well right now. Hell, we were talking about Shane Wright, like 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, Slavkovsky and Shane Wright. And look, Slavkovsky's all right. You know what I mean? He's a number 1 pick in the draft. He's okay. He hasn't turned into anything like, He's been a disappointment this year, to be honest. It looked like he turned a corner last year. Shane Wright, people thought sucked. It was like, wow, this guy, like, how the hell is this guy a top 4 pick of the draft or top 3, whatever it was? Remember, I wanted the Canadians to take Shane Wright. And now suddenly Shane Wright is turning himself into an every night, every game type of NHL type of player. Connor Bedard, right? They're heavily hyped. I know his team sucks, but, Connor Bedard, he's not like lighting up the National Hockey League. And this kid's one of the best prospects ever to come into the game. So, like, when, these smart teams, if you look at the smart teams, the Avalanche, the Stars, the Lightning, the Panthers, the Leafs, they don't care about their draft picks. It's like, yeah, whatever, dude. You know what I mean? Sure. Oh, you have our second round pick in 2027, huh? So in other words, you might get a player in 2031 out of it. You know what I mean? You might get a player in 2031. Football players play right away. Man, there's a lot of games on right now. I'm flicking around. You got Phoenix and Denver. The Vancouver Canuck game is coming up. We got college basketball. All right, let's get into some picks here. Let's start firing away. We've been having a pretty strong night tonight so far, but what's in the past is in the past. Let's keep this thing rolling. So speaking of Vancouver, we'll go in chronological, we always go in order of the games. So we don't pick what sport, whatever's going first. It's Women's Night tonight in Vancouver. I don't know. Is it International Women's Day or something like that today? And if it is, by part of my ignorance, shout out to all if there's any women tuning into the show. I don't know, maybe there's a couple of distraught girlfriends or something that don't want to be. But happy Women's Day, International Women's Day, whatever it is today. But the Vancouver Canucks are going all in. They have a bunch of a bunch of athletes. They got a bunch of gold medalists actually. So they got a bunch of gold medalists and of different sports. So, Christine St. Clair is there. Cam Rogers, the girl that won the gold medal in the hammer throw. Cami Granado. Hopefully she doesn't get booed. It's like all Team Canada women athletes. You got Cami Granado, but I don't think she'll get booed. Cami Granado's like the vice president of operations and hockey for the Vancouver Canucks. So yeah, it's Women's Night in Vancouver. You get the Minnesota Wild rolling in here. Besser didn't get dealt, right? So that's sort of that's the story of Vancouver, and it's bizarro world. Canuck fans are all mad that the Canucks didn't blow the team up. But one thing I've learned about living in Vancouver, Canuck fans are kind of bitter people. You figure a city that's so nice and as much weed as they smoke, that they would be more chill about things. They're not. They're anything but chill. Seriously. They're more insane than the Montreal Canadian fans are. And that's saying something. And I know the Canadians well. My grandfather played for them, and I was the host of the Montreal Canadiens post-game show. So trust me, I know all about Canadian fans. Canadian fans are passionate, but they're not psychopaths. Right? People in Vancouver are psychopaths. So people in Vancouver want to blow the team up. They wanted to trade the mascot, Finn, the whale, right? They wanted everybody gone besides Quinn Hughes, right? Besides Quinn Hughes. Oh, great. It's the national anthems now. I'm telling you, man, they should just start playing the home country national anthem at these games. It would make everyone's life easier. I don't have a massive feel. Quinn Hughes isn't playing. Quinn Hughes isn't playing in this game again tonight. It's going to be a close game. You know what I mean? It feels like a 3-2 game. Let's go under the number, and I'll take the Vancouver Canucks, but we're not going to go crazy here on this one. I'll tell you what, though. One thing with the Canucks, they should get a little spark out of it. The guys in the room, forget about fans, but, when you get to, the players in the room, Besser can go where he wants in the offseason. So he's yeah, whatever, I'll go, you know what I mean? I'm here for the rest of it. And everybody else is all right. Teams will often get a bump after the trade deadline, even teams that didn't pick up people, right? Now everybody in the Canuck room knows, all right, this is the team. All right, with everything that's happened this year, this is it. It's just us in this room right now, and tune out the outside noise, and let's go on a run, right? When there's a lot of uncertainty and no one ever knows, am I getting traded? Am I not getting traded? What's going to happen? It leads to too much uncertainty. It doesn't foster a positive environment in the room. So, let's go with the Canucks here. Nothing's easy for this team. They don't have their best player in Quinn Hughes tonight, but let's go. It's minus 130. I got to restart and relog in here. All right, so it's down to minus 130. It's 125, minus 130 right now. What is it? This number's bouncing all over the place. Yeah, minus 130 Canucks. And let's go under the 5.5 in this game. I mix it up with hockey. I'll go over 1.5 in the first period, but when it comes to the games, I prefer to bet the unders than the overs. We'll go under 5.5 in this one. You got the St. Louis Blues and the Anaheim Ducks. This is another one. Like, this game could go to a shootout probably. Like we saw it the other night with St. Louis and the Kings. But give me the St. Louis Blues minus 155. They just dropped the puck, so somewhat in game. It's like a minute in, 2 minutes in. There's 17:56 left in the first period of play. Penguins and the Vegas Golden Knights. I think Vegas are going to roll them. I don't like laying goal and a halves in games. It just sort of bothers me. So let's mix it up. Well, let's get degenerate here. Let's go with the Vegas Golden Knights and money line parlay this with the Denver Nuggets. It's minus 134. Vegas Golden Knights to win, Denver Nuggets to win. And we'll give you some more basketball parlays on the other side. I want to get a piece of the Loyola Marymount game. And we got the Knicks. Derek Brunson's going to be out. Jalen Brunson is going to be out. You know what? Because I'm thinking of the UFC here, all right? Lou's going to step up in it. I've done that like 200 times over the years. Derek and Jalen.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the Friday Night Freak Show. SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. Lou from Gamblu.com is in the green room. We're just setting Lou up. We'll get Lou in a couple of minutes. We've got a big UFC card. Big-time fight tomorrow. One of my favorite fighters to watch. And listen, people that have been watching this show for years know I'm not as into the UFC as I used to be. I used to like know everything about every fighter on the card, and I used to like literally know like, oh yeah, really, oh you had bad breakfast, food poisoning, this morning at the hotel. Like I knew everything about everything. I don't now. I'm just like I'm like everybody else. I'm a casual. I speak to some people in the business once in a while, but I really don't have any insight more than anybody else does. And there's also like it's like college basketball, the UFC, in the sense like. I was watching the UFC. There used to be like 60 fighters under contract, or 45 fighters or whatever, right? And then it grew to a couple of hundred. It was like, whoa, there's a lot of fighters. Now, I think they have like 2,300 people under contract, if not more. And then they just buy out the other companies. Like there's so many fighters, and there's so many fight cards, right? And so many of them from like there's like Uzbekistan and this and that, and they all have the same names and. Man, it's overwhelming. But Pereira, I thought Pereira is like one of the, arguably the best pound for pound. Put it this way. Whenever you go with a pound for pound type of stuff, it's like, who do you think would win if it got real, like in a casino or something like that, or in the parking lot? And I'm telling you, I wouldn't want to mess with Pereira. Like, you know what I mean? I know like Cormier's a tough dude and stuff like that, but Pereira would just kick him in the head. And, this guy's just a killer. And a lot of people think he's going to lose tomorrow, actually. Right? But the thing in MMA is everybody does lose. Everybody loses. Like, nobody's been undefeated. John Jones is the only one that's undefeated, yet it's a little bit skewed. You're going to see he has a loss on his resume, but it's because he elbowed Matt Hamill in the back of the head. And, whatever. He was murdering Matt Hamill. Like John Jones got screwed over like in that fight. He's never lost, but I should note it's a little easier not to lose if you take like 3 and 4 years off to like do coke and party it up and then just come back every day, whatever you want. Like no, it's true, Cam. Like the older fighters used to fight like GSP would be like, all right, I got to fight again in 4 months against this guy. It's like, all right. Like they used to you used to fight 3 times, it'd be like bang, bang, bang. It became like boxing where, I don't even remember the last time John Jones fought. It was like 2 years ago.
Look at Clay Guida, your boy. Like that guy took fights.
He used to fight 6 times a year if he could.
He's an animal.
Well, it's different because he wasn't a champion. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? Like, but
you know what I mean,
true.
though. That's
different,
still, you're still fighting and you're still could get your ass kicked, right? So, no, I respect the old school guys too. And I know you were really tight with a lot of them. Heath Herring, for example, right? When you went live and saw him fight Brock Lesnar. I'm with you on John Jones. It's like, dude, where are you? Like, you've gone away for years in a hiatus, the hit and runs, whatever. Like, what is he doing? Like, the guy shows up every once in a while. It's like, hey, everybody, I'm back. That's not the same, Gabe. To your point, when you fight all the time, eventually you're going to get clipped. That's the thing.
Well, that's what's great about this Pereira dude. Like, Pereira really will, like, be like, yeah, right, sure, I'll fight. Like, he really, like, a lot of people say that. I'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. Right? All fighters say that, but they don't really mean it. Right? Like Pereira is actually that dude. He's like, yeah, sure. You want to go? All right, let's go. Sign a contract. Right? But he's been the champ for a little while now. You know what I mean? And he's fought in a lot. So people sort of think you're going to get him in a flat spot. I don't think so personally. So I look forward to Lou's opinion. And it's funny because Lou actually checked in early and was ready to go. And something happened in between like him getting ready to go and stepping up and in. And we have, there's often guests that have problems getting on the air. And you always see like the last facial expression that gets frozen on their face. And Lou's is like, confusion and real anger. You can tell like I could see his face.
Yeah.
He was getting mad for real. Like his mic wasn't.
That's a parlay, Gabe, of anger.
He wasn't like,
fear,
a lot of people are like smiling and, give me a second. And like,
yeah.
You can see Lou was like tapping it and like, just like you could see the rage. And I was like, I don't know. Like something seems to be wrong with Lou.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like he's actually doing he's checking in early. You get sound.
Yeah, but I don't know what the hell happened. We told him just to refresh. What did this guy do? Did he go to NASA to go up to space to save those 2 lost astronauts?
I think he's gone to the liquor store to get some White Claw. He's pissed off, man. He's had enough. He wants a drink. I love Lou. You're right. Look at the face. That's like
I don't know. Something happened.
Disappointment, like all rolled into one.
I'm used to this disappointment later in the show with Tony Finn. I can't start off the show like this. Like it's just too much.
At least me and you are here, buddy. count on us.
And for the record, I don't think, Greg, were you here Wednesday, Greg? Like, yeah, you were with our boy Babano. Yeah, see, it was 11:32, right? There's just like, there was no.
Yeah, you
no.
guys are totally right on Babano now. I'm never taking the under. It's obviously over. Yeah. I'm never taking it again, Greg. You fleeced me. Babano's never earlier than that. You're right. That's his time.
Told you, he does not, like, check the communications. He just comes
I
on
don't
when
think
he
a lot of people
wants.
do. Remember when you said Vino? He's like, I haven't read an email in 5 years.
And Vino's another one. And he's the next guest. So, like, don't get
I
me
love
like,
Vino. Yeah.
Vino's the next one. So
Yeah.
we'll figure something out with Lou. I don't know. Lou was, like I said, Lou was ready to go, and now he's not. So he's retooling. I'm going to tell you something. I'm watching the Vancouver Canuck and the Anaheim Duck game. They just lied. They just showed a shot of Vancouver, and it was all bright outside. It's dark out right now.
Yeah, I know what they do. That's lazy production. They do the early morning shot and go, hey, you're Vancouver.
Yeah,
It's like,
I know,
come
but
on,
it's
guys.
deceptive because people are watching and they think, oh, look, it's still bright in Vancouver. It's like, no, it's not. It's pitch black out.
That's lazy TV. Lazy.
So Lou's going to be ready to go on the other side. Canucks and the Wild are still scoreless. I took the Canucks, Cam, and I took the under 5.5 in this game.
I don't really have it. Know what I did with this game? Game to go to overtime.
It's a hard game.
If you're telling me it is, Vancouver can win, Minnesota can win, the total's right where it is. Like, I think this game is going to go to overtime. That was my bet. Real tight.
Lou on the other side.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drifts. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's do this thing. This is SportsRage. I'm Morency, Sirius XM Channel 159. Like I said, it's been a wild day today in sports. The NHL trade deadline was today, and it was a pretty busy one. And, you know, the Rantanen ends up getting traded after all. I didn't think he would, but it was a pretty wild turn of events and sequence with him, in which I don't know if it was just a tax-free state thing, but he told the Carolina Hurricanes that, no, I'm not going to re-sign. I'm not going to do an extension right now. I'll become a free agent in the offseason. And then he turns around and he accepts the $12 million a year from the Dallas Stars without ever even playing there, right? So, and what's crazy about this, the Colorado Avalanche were willing to pay him $12 million in the first place. Like, so it went like full circle. The Leafs reportedly made an offer for Rantanen, and they went all in. They offered like a bunch of first-round draft picks and a couple of players. We'll get to it after what they offered. But for the record, Nick Kypreos is reporting this, Cam. And I like the Kipper. So I'll take the Kipper at his word. Kypreos says that the Leafs offered a pretty nice package for Rantanen as a rental. Like, that was the whole deal. Like, like it was as a rental, though. Like, the Leafs didn't think that, we're going to re-sign him and it's going to be, they had tried to go all in, but the Carolina Hurricanes didn't want to trade him to a team that they would potentially play in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. So just for the record, we'll get caught up today with all the hockey. We got Lou Gamblu in the house with us, who is a puckhead. 1-0 Blues. The Blues have taken a 1-0 lead in this game over the Ducks. I'm on the Blues, but I'm also on Utah. Utah are losing 3-1 right now to Chicago. Good to see you, Lou. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, but I'm a little incensed at that Carolina story you just got done telling. That team should worry less about where a goalie goes that's going to play second string if he goes to Dallas or whatever, and more about how they're going to perform this year in the playoffs. Every year, that team's chalk, and they get to the playoffs, and they grip the stick too tight and don't make it. So they got their own work to do. And I don't know why they're worried about a goaltender that wants to go play somewhere else. Let him go play in Toronto. There's no blue line there. He'll just get peppered there. He doesn't want to go there anyway.
Lou's coming out throwing darts right away. One thing, though, Lou, if you remember, and Cam, you guys remember this. Well, remember, it wasn't a long time ago, but Lou, they went out of their way to get Jake Gensel. Right? Mm-hmm. There was the big Jake Gensel sweepstakes.
Right.
They get Gensel, and then they lose him. He's like, no. And then he signs with Tampa, which is kind of the same thing. I get, you know what I mean? They're a little better. I get it. But like,
what does that tell you, Morency?
But
the
now
GM doesn't sign guys who want to
but now
deals. It's a problem.
But now you got Rantanen, who's there. He's there for like 6 weeks. He tells them, no, I'm not saying I won't re-sign, but I will talk in the offseason only. And then he turns around and he accepts a 12-year deal, for an 8-year deal for $12 million from the Dallas Stars without stepping foot there. Listen, it's a tax-free state, but like I said, and it all started that, you know what, the Avalanche offered him $12 million. He wanted $14 million, so they ended up trading him. So he ends up bouncing around. But somebody today, I was talking with people today about this with Carolina. Their taxes aren't that bad. It's not tax-free, but it's not that bad. And the thinking is, guys, it's Rod Brind'Amour. The people don't like playing for him. He's an old-school, hard-ass coach, Lou. You know what I mean? He's one of these dudes. Like, the practices are hard. Like, not everybody likes that. Not everybody's up for that.
I completely – that's what I was meaning by gripping too hard.
Yeah.
Gripping too hard is when Brind'Amour played, you were complimenting a guy when you said that. In today's day and age – and I'm not today's day and age. I tend to be a little bit more fire and brimstone, and it doesn't work on today's athlete, clearly. And so you get these patty cake tiptoe teams like Edmonton and Toronto that think they're going to win a cup, and they're never going to do it.
All right, so another shot at the Leafs.
Jeez,
for the record,
Lou.
For the record, I thought the Leafs had a pretty good. The Leafs had a pretty good day today, considering they were pretty handcuffed. Now they tried. They threw a flyer with Rantanen, and like I said, they understood that if it was just going to be a rental for them. The reports are that the Leafs offered Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan. Easton Cowan's pretty good too. So like,
yes, he is.
They were offering real players. So Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan, and 2 first-round draft picks.
Too much.
it's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The Vegas Golden Knights have taken a 1-0 lead on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Vegas was a team that was kind of quiet in the big picture of things. They're kind of handcuffed unless they play manipulation games with like injuries and stuff, right? Like eventually it's going to catch up to them. They're still a rock solid team, but we'll get to the UFC. But Lou, you're a big, you love the NHL futures. You get involved with the playoffs, and now the trade deadline is come and gone. To me, the big winner here, and I already took them seriously. I took them as cup contenders, but I also thought, you know what, they could lose this series against a good team as well. But the Colorado Avalanche guys, they just had a great little, they took the Rantanen deal and they turned it into like 4 players essentially, right? Like they really they got a lot better. Right, like you got to ask yourself, are they a better hockey team? And it's like, yeah, they're a better hockey team right now than they were. I think the Avs did a great job, and the Florida Panthers are not ready to give up the Stanley Cup too easily. We'll see about Kachuk's health right now. But have you kept your eye on the trade deadline today at all, Lou? Because I got to tell you, you've taken a couple of pot shots, 2 shots. I'm keeping score. 2 cracks at the Toronto Maple Leafs and 1 crack at the Oilers.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
Yeah, but now I'm going to take a crack at you and say you're in deep trouble now because I completely agree with those 2 assessments. I think the Golden Knights are a team somebody better pay attention to because their odds in 2 weeks aren't going to be what they are today. I'm just telling you. And I've been kind of looking at them for a while. I seem to have a little clearer depiction of the West, I think. Gabriel, the East is still clouded to me. I kind of just know who I don't like.
You don't like the Leafs, I know that.
You don't like the Leafs?
The Leafs and Carolina, but I'll tell you what, Tampa's sneaky, and Florida with this, as you said, Gabriel, Florida with this trade thing, and
Brad Marchand and Seth Jones, man, that's a pretty nice week right there.
That's just unbelievable. But if I'm looking for a team to beat Edmonton in the West, and I am because I think they can be beat, I think it's Colorado or the Knights, and that's kind of where I'm situated right now. I'm trying to keep an open mind. I've made no bets, no game-to-game bets. I just don't know how to bet regular season hockey. I prefer not to. But it's coming. Passion season is coming, and there won't be any 3-on-3 tiptoe overtimes as we're going to play man's hockey and get down to business.
You don't like the 3-on-3?
Who doesn't like anything?
No, you know what? I get it. I just don't know how it just makes gambling. I see a lot of cappers do really great in regular season hockey and they can't make the transition. Well, I understand that. It's not the same game. And that's why I prefer to not even deal with it. But 82 games of data on goalies and defenses and penalty kill, that's really good information.
I bet hockey every day, but I'm very systematic about it. Listen, they're playing so much. It's a tough, anything can happen. So I really do a pretty good job of keeping the same amount of units in the same ballpark. But I will say, when it comes to the playoffs, though, in the NHL, I'll go heavy. Like, that's suddenly when I got NFL money on games and stuff. I love the NHL playoffs. You can't top it. Can't wait. The Canucks are on the power play right now, under a minute and a half left. Kurtz will join us later for a quick. We're packed tonight, but we'll get Kurtz in for his takes. Brock Nelson goes from his Islanders. That's what I'm saying, guys. The Avalanche, they're already good. And now you add Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle to an already hungry hockey team. Great moves. But the problem with the West is everybody's good. Everybody's good. Right? Like, Winnipeg's good. Colorado's good. Vegas is good. Dallas is good. And then you get in the Edmonton. I didn't bring up Edmonton. And even the second tier teams are dangerous, in the West, right? So anything can happen. But let's get into UFC 313. And Lou, off the top, I was talking about Pereira. And I've been watching this sport for a long time. And the Canucks score on the power play and take, and it's EP 40. The most criticized, man, this guy gets ripped more than the mayor of Vancouver. And trust me, people hate the mayor. Pedersen with a big-time goal right there to get the party started. 1-0 for the Vancouver Canucks. 3:46 left in the first period. But, Lou, I was saying, I've been watching the UFC a long time. I'll say, really, I watch it in the UFC 1 days and all that. But I'd really say, getting into it from, the Tito and the Chuck days and stuff. Those sort of early rivalries. But Pereira is one of my favorite fighters I've ever seen to watch fight. You know what I mean? This guy doesn't play around, bro. You know what I'm saying? He shows up, he's trying to kill you, and he'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere, pretty much any weight class as well. He's pretty much ran through this division right now. A lot of people want to see him go up to heavyweight. And now a lot of people think he could potentially lose this fight tomorrow, Lou. This is the stakes are high, the drama is high, the intrigue is high, the fighting contrast styles are cool. This is a super cool fight tomorrow night, the main event.
Man, I couldn't agree more. You set it up perfectly. And it's excellently staged. When you look at the angles from which each come. Pereira is this monster. But if I'm playing devil's advocate to him, I wonder why no one has ever tried to wrestle the guy. Strickland had a chance, but his IQ wouldn't allow him. I shouldn't say that. His lack of IQ wouldn't allow him to play that game. He had to be a man and get knocked out. And so no one's really wrestled this guy up. He's had it his way. And not only that, the last 2 years, his rise has been really excellent. There's no one that doesn't love the Chama intrigue and the mystique of this guy and the power of that left hand. It's all
the voodoo power.
Matched.
Just for the casuals tuning in. Some people really buy into it too, and you're in trouble if you're his opponent, right? Who was it that asked him in the last? Who was it, Lou, that asked him? Please don't use. Yeah, he goes, please don't use this stuff. You're already tough enough as it is, and he goes, I believe it. You can't people think Pereira uses black magic and stuff.
He's got a temple at home, like a Santeria as a shaman. Wow,
but no, he does. He kind of does. He's got, you know what I mean? But it's only real if you believe it type of thing, right? But people think like he's putting like spells on you and stuff like that,
Well,
right? So,
well, I can tell you that Ankalaev doesn't.
exactly. So it's better that way, yeah.
And as these two fighters approach each other, Ankalaev comes from a series of fights where he's looked just terribly boring because he's a wrestler and a grinder, and yet he's trying to stand, and he's slow and he's sluggish, and he's developing his striking as he's going, knowing he has the grappling and wrestling. Meanwhile, Pereira is simply lightning in a bottle. Everybody that stands with him, and that's everybody, gets knocked out. And so how's this fight going to go? Ankalaev, his plan is simple. He's going to wrestle Pereira up and force him to play defense. And instead of being on offense and throwing that left hand, trying to keep Ankalaev off of him. Ankalaev is a little shorter. His reach is not as long. If he stands a distance, Ankalaev's going to get dusted. So Ankalaev's surely going to wrestle. And then we get to the second, third round, and Pereira hasn't been there. I think that's when he could start to slow down. I know the Ankalaev plan will be to slow him down, get him late, and get on top of him. I like Ankalaev on the fight because I think he's the more well-rounded mixed martial artist, Gabriel.
Alex Pereira is a minus 138 favorite. Ankalaev plus 110. More with Lou on the other side. Let's roll.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Let's do this. And we got Gamblu in the house. The Rage Red Cam Stewart. The first period has come to an end here in Vancouver. 1-0 for the Vancouver Canucks after 20 minutes of play. There was just a fight with Hartman and Sherwood. Wasn't much of a fight. Sherwood just basically fell on top of him. But Pettersson gets the goal. And anybody, me and Greg Frank at Match Control, we were talking about this before the show, actually, about the Canucks and hockey media being all down on them for not breaking the team up. And basically it's like they're in the playoffs. They could get into the playoffs, and Pedersen hasn't played well in like a year. Like if he could just start to dial this thing up again a little bit, and they get Quinn Hughes back in the lineup, and they're getting Demko back again, although I don't really believe in Demko staying healthy. They can go on a little bit of a run here. Anything can happen in the playoffs. So they need Pedersen to step up. That's positive. And people in Vancouver, as I said off the top, you figure they'd be laid back about the Canucks. They're not. They're psychopaths. So, you know what I memean? If like Pedersen plays well for like a week or something, they're going to love him again, right? You know what I mean? They hate him now, but they're going to love him again after. But he's got to string it together, like for consistently. But that's a nice start there. Okay, so we were talking about the main event here. Lou, you said people don't test Pereira's wrestling. I guess though we got to say it's a little bit out of fear. You could pay the price getting too close to this guy, right, Lou? That's the thing, right? So how persistent will Magomed be? And you know this as well as I do too, Lou. A lot of good wrestlers sometimes get away from it, bro. Fight IQ, ego, heat of the moment, like whatever it is, Lou. Like how many times have we seen a wrestler, and it's for the love of God, bro, start wrestling and stop trying to trade punches with this guy?
Well, what I would say to that, Gabriel, is now I'm going to get into the emotional side of this fight and some aspects such as this. Travel components for Pereira, who hasn't missed a UFC event in a couple of years. He goes to them all. It's helped encourage and really kind of flame his meteoric rise. The guy he's a lightning rod with his left hand, and in popularity, and the UFC knows how to use him. Meanwhile, Ankalaev has been stiff-armed because of his boring wrestling style, as well as dynamic as Pereira's look coming into this fight over his last three fights. That's how boring Ankalaev has looked, because he has chosen to try and stand and refine his striking against strikers and develop that part of his game. In the meantime, he has been the most deserving at a shot at Pereira, and he doesn't understand why he hasn't gotten it. Well, Pereira's finally giving it to him. Pereira and Teixeira, who he trains with, believe that their wrestling takedown defense is now up to snuff. But this is going to be a fight where I believe Pereira is going to get tested with his wrestling. I think Ankalaev is going to immediately penetrate him and try and attack him like a linebacker in the Super Bowl, Gabriel. I don't think it's going to be, it'll be dancing outside for a second, but Ankalaev's intent will be clear and from the first round on, because he needs to tire Pereira out, force him to defend, and that will take the steam out of his punches more than anything. And then when we get into the championship rounds, the wrestler, I think, will have the advantage. And that's how I look at this fight. I love Pereira. I love everything that he represents. But I think he's finally going to meet a guy that can fight a full mixed martial arts fight. And I don't know that Pereira can yet. I haven't seen him tested with his wrestling or past 2.5 rounds. And I think I'm going to see that on Saturday night.
Over under 3.5 rounds is -110. Over 2.5 rounds is -175. Under 2.5 rounds +130. Under 1.5 rounds, if anybody wants to call a quick shot here, +250. Under 1.5, +250. Over -350. Fight to go the distance +175. Yes, no, -235. Any quick thoughts on the total, Lou?
Yeah, over. I'm looking at it from Ankalaev having advantage. It's going to take him some time to slay this dragon, because he's not going to go easy. He's proud, and he's strong, and he's durable. And so I look for more, rather than a total, I would say Ankalaev, but maybe Ankalaev inside the distance, because what will happen is he'll get on top and maybe be able to stop it with ground and pound late.
Lou with some hot takes and picks here on the Friday Night Freak Show. The human highlight reel, Justin Gaethje, rematch against Fiziev here. What are your thoughts on this one, Lou? As Gaethje's the underdog, plus 125 this time.
It's so hard to be concise on this fight. It's a rematch. They fought, and when they fought, Fiziev came minus 240, minus 225, and Gaethje really got his clock clean for a round and a half, but then he cleaned Fiziev's clock the second half, won the fight. I thought it was not, much more one-sided than it was. It was close, but Gaethje loses Hooker at the last moment, has no one to fight. Fiziev on 2 weeks' notice jumps in for this rematch because he feels like he fought a terrible fight against Gaethje 2.5 years ago in the first fight. Fiziev's younger, more compact, faster, maybe more powerful. Gaethje's a pure warrior, and the market is against Gaethje a little bit because of the terrible Max Holloway knockout a year ago. Gaethje assures everyone, even though he's 36, that he's well past all that Holloway emotion and ready to tackle this one. This is the fight of the night. You can't miss it. All I can say is I think someone's getting finished here. All week long I've thought over. I think someone's going to sleep here. I just don't know which one.
You hear Gaethje saying earlier in the week, he goes, yeah, if he wants to fight in the middle of the ring, let's go. I never say no. So we got to know what to expect here.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pits, the players, the hustlers, the gamblers, and everybody else in between. All right, level one is just flying by here. It's why it's the quickest 120 minutes in sports talk and television. So, Lou, it doesn't sound like you like Gaethje here. Let's get down to business with that, and I'll ask you about the prelims here. And for the record, if people get confused and you look at the card, you see King Green. Who the hell is King Green? Bobby Green changed his name legally to King. He's now King Green.
How many kings do we got out here?
And he's going to get crowned.
Yeah, exactly.
So the king's going to get creamed, you're saying, Lou?
The king's going to get crowned. This dude Ruffy's a bad hombre. And I don't want to spend my time.
Lou? What's with all these people who call themselves king? Relax. You're not the king.
Hey, listen, Bobby Green's as authentic as the Diaz boys. So I'm not going to kick sand on him because he wants to be called king. He's an authentic OG mixed martial artist. He deserves his respect, but this is a bad matchup. This dude Ruffy should be this kind of favorite, and we don't want to spend too much time on that. We want to talk about underdogs. Where are they? Well, we talked about one, Ankalaev, although that's closer to a pick. The next one, Amanda Lemos and Yasmin Lucindo. This is a main card fight. Lemos is 37, and she's getting discounted a little bit. She opened minus 150. All the money's come in on Lucindo because she is 23, well-rounded, and can grapple. Lemos can't grapple a lick. However, while she's 37, she's fought the elite of the division for over 7 years. She's been in with the best. She's knocked out gals. She's got tremendous power, and she knows she's at the end of her career. I think she has enough desperation left to give young Lucindo her PhD in MMA, and I love Lemos as an underdog here of any kind. She was a little better priced earlier in the week, but plus on Lemos is a really good consideration. And then we go down to the lower ranks. I got to mention the young man Marshall fighting Brazilian Marion Santos. Santos comes in off one UFC win against a moderately equipped opponent that's really not in UFC caliber. And now he's a 300 favorite over this kid Marshall that is a little bit taller, longer, has had 4 UFC fights. He's 2-2, and his 2 losses were against really strong, capable fighters. And he's a plus 220, 230, 240 favorite. That's a wrong line right there. We're going to put a little bit on Marshall, but more importantly, in the states that have DraftKings in your FanDuels, you can do the points handicap. Marshall plus 3.5 in a 3-round fight is plus 100. That's a suitcase bet, meaning you bring a suitcase in and you bomb it. I think this Marshall's up to the task. He's going to teach this young man a little something about fighting. And even if he loses, it's going to be a close decision. Oh, by the way, the total in this 3-round fight is over 2.5 minus 210. So it's going to decision. And if it doesn't, it'll be Marshall. I'm telling you, Marshall's experience here is big. He's a huge underdog. Find every way you can to invest in him. Be reasonable, but Marshall's live.
Lou, we got about a minute left. An interesting fight that's basically not a pick-em, but pretty close. The Bruno Ferreira fight. What do you think of this? A lot of people are expecting fireworks. This should be an entertaining fight. Do you see an edge with one fighter or the other?
Yeah, you know what? If you want the early knockout, you got to go Ferreira. But he's got 6 minutes in him. After 6 minutes, he's out of juice. So that's why this is lined 1.5, because Ferreira either going to go out and find Petrosian and knock him out. Petrosian was knocked out in his last fight, and he's pretty durable, but he was knocked out by a slow guy. This kid from Brazil, way faster than the last kid. So that's the risk for Petrosian. Now, if Petrosian can find a way to make it to round 2, he'll knock Ferreira out because Ferreira won't be able to pick up his gloves off the mat because he'll be so sucked out and tired.
Sounds like a fun card tomorrow night. UFC 313. Check out Lou's in-depth insights and picks, Gamblu.com. You can find him on X at Gamblu. Lou, it's always a pleasure, my man.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. Have a good night.
And check out Lou's podcast as well. So Lou's all over it. Check him out all week long.
it's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pits, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. You know, we love our guy, Greg Frank. I think he's a smart sports fan, but I got to wonder what he's doing during the show. He just asked who scored for the Canucks. I talked about it like for 5 minutes. I said Patterson scored.
Yeah, didn't he say
Patterson
Patterson?
scored.
Like he goes, 40, like 9 times, Greg. You're too worried about your Utah Hockey Club Blackhawks bet. Stay on course.
Yeah, Greg's worried about he's like, oh, damn, Utah just scored. He's got the Blackhawks. For the record, Cam, those two are on the Blackhawks. I'm on Utah.
Oh, I'm on
were
Utah.
up.
Not me. Him.
You're on
I'm
Utah?
Yeah, I'm not with Frank tonight. Frank's on his own.
Right. Oh, I thought you were celebrating with him when he was up 3-1, because I was 1-0 Utah, and then it was 3-1.
No, Gabe, know what I did? I hit my hot finger and put like 150 on Utah plus 2.5 goals with juice. And I'm like, I'm sure glad I did, but because I might be losing another game. But yeah, there we go.
No, I need Utah to win the game. I got no pucks, no nothing. And
no rock.
I generally lose if things go to overtime. So we'll see what there's still 6 minutes left. It's 3-3. I was just down 3-1. Yeah, I was just down 3-1. I'm not going to complain about it, right? It is what it is. 1-0 Canucks, 1-0 Golden Knights, and 1-1 Blues and Ducks. All right, we're going to bring Rob Vino in, but let's check in with the basketball right now. South Florida, 75-60 are down to Memphis with 4 minutes left. South Dakota State, 51-45, and this is one of those old school, if you recall in your bookie stuff, and it actually happened to me once. Like about 35 years ago or something, we got into an argument about Washington or Washington State and who I said on the phone on the message. And I was like, I clearly said Washington. I didn't say Washington State, right? It was like one of those deals. But I sent a message to you. Let's bring Rob Vino in. Rob, I sent you a message earlier, and I said I like the over of the North Dakota State, South Dakota State game. Yeah, now you got North Dakota State and South Dakota, but now you got North Dakota and South Dakota State playing. Like, hell, you can't say it's not confusing, Rob. The only way I knew about it, I was like, I like the one where the total's 166. That's the one I like. And it got there, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah, we're doing good tonight. I'm just trying to push Portland and Pepperdine over the finish line here with that total.
Keep pushing them. Push them.
Yeah, shove them over the line, Gabe. Some of these are making it too
brotherly
tough around
shove.
here. Yeah, come on. Yeah, that Summit League, those numbers are always huge. Those teams race up and down the floor. North Dakota, South Dakota, especially South Dakota State, I think, is 2 in pace in that league. So those totals are always going to be high. In the neutral arena here, they hadn't had an over in that tournament thus far until that game earlier tonight where, I don't know, when they scored 90 some odd points in the second half, 94 to get that thing over. So that happens a lot in that league. I happen to enjoy that league a little bit. So,
it's fun. Yeah,
You're looking
That's the
for
Jackrabbits and
games
stuff,
in the
Cam.
90s.
It's a high-scoring, fun conference, that one. Usually close games, too. I took South Dakota. Now I'm all confused. I took South Dakota, not South Dakota. I took South Dakota plus the 5 as well. I took the underdog and the over, but I sent you a message. I sent Rob a message, and I said, what the hell am I missing with the Bradley and the Murray State total here? It was 132. Now I got a bad number at 132. It was it was bouncing around. And Rob, I thought of you, and I should have known better, Cam, when Rob wasn't into the over, right? When I said, what am I missing, Rob? It's only 132. And he goes, well, because, and I was like, all right, but I'm doing it anyways. I'm going in alone, I guess, here. At the half, it was 28-27. I was like, well, I guess I was wrong. Rob, I got the push, 132, 70-62 final score. I didn't get the push.
Yeah, you shoved them right there, Gabe, to get your money back. It was weird to me today when I got up this morning and I saw the huge movement down on the Belmont game. There's no reason to bet Belmont, Illinois State under the total. Open 163. I wake up, it's 154. It goes all the way down to 151, a 12-point move without an injury on either side. And I thought to myself, what do these people know? And I look back at the totals. The Indiana State game, the first game in that tourney, got up and over, 86-85. Since then, it's been all rim clankers. Nobody can shoot straight. And it happened in the Belmont game. I watched it from start to finish just to see, why is this not happening? Why are they all betting under? And Illinois State puts up 18 in the first half.
I just love that you watched a Belmont game from start to finish.
Well, now, wait a minute. Now, my oldest son graduated Belmont, so I've been in that arena.
Nice.
I know. Bruiser the Bruin is the mascot. I'm big on Belmont now. Me and Vince
Bruiser
Gill,
the Bruin.
big on
That's
Belmont.
amazing. That's a great handle.
Bruiser
the Bruin. I got to tell you guys, you guys remember in the old days, how many bowls a total? You and Rob, Gabe? Like you and Vito, like over on the bowls. You guys always are on overs together. But I don't know what's going on with this Valpo team. A lot of people like Northern Iowa. These guys are up 19 on them. Aren't they getting 9?
They're 8.5-point underdogs. Yeah, 8.5-point underdogs. They're winning. They're winning actually. Yeah, 56-37. Valparaiso right now.
They're hot. I took them the other night, Gabe, but I didn't see, this is crazy. That's the beautiful thing about this time of year. You get that one pooch, and they start going bananas. That's very impressive.
No, it's a surprise. And here's another team, guys. It's not a conference tournament game, and I kind of looked away from the non-conference tournament games tonight. I was betting on the conference tournament stuff. But UNLV, and props to you, Cam, you've taken them a couple of times in this run. I keep betting against them. I'm like, nah, they're not going to beat Nevada. Nah, they're not going to beat San Diego State. I'm like, nah, they're not going to do this. Rob, the UNLV, bro, what are they, 7-1 straight up in their last 8 games now? 6-1, 7-1, whatever. It's time. And look, tonight they're getting 12. Dude, they're down by 2 right now in the pit at the half.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned it because as we're talking here, I just bet New Mexico for the second half.
That's a good bet, though, Rob. That's a good bet.
It's 9.5 now in game. So, 9.5.
Yeah, Gabe, that line I think closed 12.5, like even 12.5 or something. It even went up more. But I got UNLV there, and then we can come back, right, Rob? I think that's a good play. We come back with the Lobos and maybe try to hit her right down the middle. We'll see.
Yeah, it could be. I haven't seen it, guys, but it could be first half senior night. Sometimes that happens. But UNLV, Gabe, to your point, without Deaton Thomas at the point the last 3-4 games, I mean, I'm thinking, how is this team? And I watched them against San Diego State. San Diego State just can't shoot the basketball, but UNLV, to their credit, played great defense, made shots down the stretch, won that game. I thought going on the road tonight, maybe they'd have an issue or two. Hopefully they have them in the second half here because I just got on.
Hopefully they do. So, yeah, me too. I was like, wow, that's a lot of points for a hot team. I was like, yeah, this is reality check for the Rebs tonight. But I didn't go against them. I've touched the hot stove too many times. I'm like, no, I'm not touching it. All right, on the other side, we got a break coming up here, but on the other side, we'll hit San Diego and LMU. So San Diego, the Toreros are getting 8.5 points against the Lions, Loyola Marymount, laying 8.5, neutral court in Las Vegas, total 147. In fact, we have a little more time than I thought, Rob. Are you getting involved with this basketball game tonight?
I'm in already. I got 146, played it over, had the San Diego game over yesterday. So
with Pacific,
yeah, Steve Lavin, let's run, Steve. Let's go. That's all they do is run. They can't shoot, but they run enough to create enough shot volume to get you over the total.
And Lavin's got nothing to lose either. I guess they said they're going to keep him. Are they? You know, I mean, I don't know. I know they weren't as good as they wanted to be. But they beat our boy Dave Smart at Pacific yesterday. I was surprised. I thought Pacific was going to win. But I did cash the over. And let's go over again, but we'll hit this game more on the other side.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Man, we got a busy weekend. You got the NHL trade deadline today. We have big NFL news, and it's going to continue now that the quarterback shuffle is beginning. The Lakers and the Knicks game last night. Brunson's injured now for a couple of weeks, but the Knicks and the Lakers game last night was just freaking epic. And speaking of the Lakers are like the hottest show in town suddenly again, now riding an 8-game win streak. They're in Boston tomorrow, and tickets are insanely expensive for a regular season basketball game. It's dropped a little bit. I saw online people were hyping it up that it was $800 to get in. It's down to like $500-600 right now, but that's just the get-in price. Tomorrow night, you can't top this, Rob. I know we talk so much college, but LA Lakers, Boston Celtics tomorrow, total 225.5. Celtics 6.5-point home favorites. Rob, what are your thoughts on the big showdown?
You know, I heard a crazy number today, Gabe. I was not aware of it, but obviously the Lakers' defense has been really, really good. And it's been good for a while now, since like the third week of January. They're the number one defensive efficiency team in the league. But I didn't know, and somebody pointed this out, that since that date, like January 24th or something like that, opponents have shot only 31% from three against the Lakers. It has a lot to do with why they're holding teams down score-wise. And that 31%, I think that the number was the last 21 years or something, no team has held for a season. They haven't played three-point defense to the tune of 34% for a year. So I know it's a stretch, and anybody can get really good for a stretch, or maybe even lucky. Maybe teams just aren't making threes. But the whole point to this is Boston shoots them in volume, and Boston has guys that can make them. I mean, what we just watched, Pritchard and White make 17 threes or something combined, right?
19.
19.
It's I don't know if it's the Laker defense or not.
About, one thing with the Laker defense, I brought it up coming into last night. The game went to overtime last night, but going into last night in their 7-game win streak, they held 6 of their 7 opponents to 102 points or less, which in the modern NBA is great. I didn't know they're that great 3-point defense you were talking about, but anybody to watch is like Luka's playing defense now with the Lakers. Like, he's trying. It doesn't mean he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, but like, he's trying on defense. And one thing with the Lakers, guys, they're freaking big. Like, the Lakers are a big team. Like, they're long dudes, man. Right? Like, LeBron's, you got your 2 guards. Like, think about it. Like, you got Luka and LeBron as your guards as size. Reeves is a tall dude. Hachimura is a big dude. They really take up a lot of space. So I'm not surprised, Rob, that they're doing well against the threes, because they're actually putting the effort in. And you watch it, and there's sequences where it's like, wow, it's actually a pain in the ass, and it's hard for the other team to get a shot against the Lakers sometimes with the shot clock even.
Yeah, the 2 best defensive wings that they have, Gabe, are probably Dorian Finney-Smith and Jared Vanderbilt, right? And they're the same thing, 6'7", 6'8", length. I know the talk at the time, and I was in on this. I mean, I won't exclude myself. I thought, where's the center on this team? But when you have 5 guys with that kind of length, and Jackson Hayes has arms that go for days.
Another one. Another one.
Yeah. I mean, they can clog up. And I guess a lot of credit is going to J.J. Redick for changing the defensive philosophy to being one that collapses in the paint and just force people to shoot threes. That's how this all came up when I was listening to it. They're forcing people to shoot threes, teams to shoot threes, and teams aren't making those threes. Whether that ends or not, at some point somebody hits a hot streak and puts up, 20 threes against them and they lose. But that's probably not going to be every night, Gabe. So if the philosophy seems to be good, the personnel seems to fit the philosophy. We'll see.
All right, so back to the San Diego game. So yesterday, San Diego beat Pacific, a team that we follow closely this year, Rob. The Pacific coach is Dave Smart. And Dave Smart was a longtime head coach of Carleton University in Ottawa. And, it's like a dynasty in basketball. And every year, Carleton plays like NCAA teams in exhibition before the year starts. Bro, they won like 17 games in a row against NCAA teams. Like, and good ones, too. Like, they beat Syracuse, like Kansas State, whatever. Like, they beat a bunch of teams. And Coach Krzyzewski even, they always wanted to play Duke. And he openly admitted, he goes, people say that we don't want to go up there to Ottawa to play that Carleton team because we're scared. He goes, you know what? It's true. I am scared. Krzyzewski just point blank. He goes, we got nothing to gain by going up there and playing against those guys. And he goes, those guys are NCAA good. He's like, we're not playing them. He goes, I got nothing to gain. And he goes, I told the coach I love him, but sorry, coach, right? We're not coming up there. And they finally lost, if you remember, Cam. Like, they're like, we can look it up. They're like 18-2 against NCAA teams type of thing. he coached with Team Canada as an assistant in the Olympics and, the junior teams or whatever, the youth teams. But he wanted a little bit of, bigger taste here, Rob. So he was so respected in the basketball community. His first job in the NCAA after all the years with Ottawa, with Carleton, was an assistant coach with Texas Tech last year. Right? That's pretty good. Like when you're just walking off the street and you become like, one of the top guys at Texas Tech. And he wanted to be a head coach, and it only took 1 year. And unfortunately for him, it was Pacific.
They'll get better.
So he took the Pacific job, Rob, but I knew his story. I know people that know him and stuff. And I also know that he just got a bunch of kids from the Toronto area and stuff that he knew. And he brought him in, and he had a bunch of transfers. So he did pretty well. And Pacific used to be like a clown show. They used to be like, 4-28 against the spread. They were like, 15-17 ATS this year. Like, he battled. I was disappointed. I really thought they could beat San Diego yesterday, but they fell short. What do you think about the side of this game? I know you already got in on the over, but what about the side? Do you think I get the feeling LMU kind of like beat them down and get it done tonight?
Yeah, they're the better squad. There's no question about it. San Diego is a team that sits like in the 300s. In offensive efficiency, 2-point shooting, 3-point shooting. Yesterday they had 9 assists and 17 turnovers and still won that game. So they're not good. I think Marymount scored 78 and 79 both times against them this season. So they had no problem scoring and won the game.
Best arena in the country, though, guys. Sorry, Rob, we're coming up against the break here. We'll hit this on the other side some more. But best arena in the country, San Diego Toreros. The Jenny Craig Center. Yeah. It's a tough-ass place to play, man.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drifts. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Blackhawks just beat Utah. Let's move on. I'm Gabriel Morency. I'm Gabriel Morency. Series 6 Channel 159. Congratulations to Greg Frank.
Good win, Greg. Excellent.
I told you, Cam. I said, it's going to go to overtime. I always lose it in overtime. And
I remember because I had the Blues the other night, and you had to, and I'm like, hey, the Blues beat the Kings.
Yeah, of course, I had the Kings in the shootout. I watch these. I'm like, I don't even know why I watch these shootouts. I never win.
I don't anymore.
Shootout.
I don't. I turn off the TV and I watch murder mysteries.
I knew too. It was
if
Bennington.
I lose.
I'm like, I'm not beating Bennington in a shootout right now. You know what I mean? Bennington with the
Not
saves.
tonight.
Although I would have saved, the Kings had crappy attempts.
The Kings
Rob,
played like junk that night.
We look at a couple of minutes. I don't know if you got anything for tomorrow, college basketball, that you're taking a look at. But what do you think about the Geno Smith news tonight? Kind of came out of nowhere. Geno Smith gets traded from the Seattle Seahawks to the Las Vegas Raiders for a third-round draft pick. And now there are reports coming out, and I believe him. Albert Breer's a pretty credible dude. He's not like a clickbait type of guy. And he's saying that this all started that we all know that DK Metcalf, and Seattle, it's kind of amicable. Like, yeah, he wants out, but they want to move on. But I like Seattle's style. They were trying to deal with Pete Carroll since they know him and stuff. And they said, how about this? We'll give you Geno Smith and DK Metcalf for Max Crosby. And the Raiders said, no, we're not going to give up Max Crosby. But the Raiders said, but yes, we are interested in Geno Smith. So they were on, and it started from there. That's how it started rolling. I guess the Raiders, the word is in Seattle that the Seahawks were going to, they're going to bring, Geno was under contract for this year, but he wanted a contract extension. I thought they were going to give him kind of a moderate deal and stuff, but he sees all these other quarterbacks making big money. And I guess they weren't anywhere close, supposedly. So Seattle pulled the trigger pretty quickly on this. We'll get Cam's take as a Seahawks fan in a couple of minutes. But, Rob, what was your take on this? What do you think of the perspective for both teams? What was your take on the deal?
Well, I would start with the Seattle side. I just wonder what the quarterback plan is now. Is it Sam Howell? Is it trade up in the draft and see what you can get? Is it take something in the draft, Jackson Dart? Somebody of that caliber. I just don't know. I don't think they're going free agent route. You're not going to pay Sam Darnold more than you would have paid Geno, so I don't know where they're going there. For the Raiders, it's funny that you say the Raiders turned down the duo of Geno Smith and DK Metcalf because Pete probably ran right to the front of the line and said, no, we don't need DK and those headaches. I've had them before. I don't need those headaches on the sideline.
That's why they're like, we'll take Geno, but no, we're not DK, right. But we'll take Geno.
And it looks like Jim Harbaugh wants him in L.A., so we'll see if that works out. Sean Payton in Denver as well. But, I thought Seattle was kind of close in the West. You know what I mean? I don't know why they would blow everything up. But to your point, Gabe, to pay Geno at 34, big money that he wanted, I think they probably did the right thing. A moderate contract, yes, but to one thing, extension and want bigger money, I don't know that at 34 he's the guy.
Seattle are the classic, in the middle. I've been talking about them a lot in the past couple of weeks of what are they doing, right? Are they trying to get better? Are they trading people? Like, where are you at? What are you doing? And you're right. Listen, man, they were close. Their defense is good, right? And they have some good young players on defense. They've drafted well on the defensive side of the ball. The offense was stale. And I think McDonald comes in here. None of them were his people. Metcalf is never happy. Lockett's been there forever. I think they needed a clean break. For me, what are they going to do next? That's the big question. But I don't really get it from the Raiders' perspective here, to be honest. Like you said, Geno's going to be 35 when the season starts. You're going to have to give him like a 3-year deal or whatever. Like now you got Geno Smith on the hook for $45-50 million a year. It's just another bad. Like, does Geno Smith make the Raiders any better? No. I don't think so. Right? You know what I mean? Like, all right, we got a quarterback. Okay, look at the division you're in. You know what I mean? They got Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, and Pat Mahomes in your division. Right? But I don't know if the Raiders didn't like any of the young quarterbacks, didn't think they were going to get one of the young quarterbacks, didn't like the other ones. So we'll hit this with Kurtz and Cam on the other side. Rob, anything tomorrow catch your eye on the way out here?
They bet it up already. I thought St. John's Marquette over the number looked good at 40.5. I see 43 here. I liked Missouri over Kentucky. It started 3.5. It's up to 5.5 now in that game. I'll keep looking at it. It's senior day there. And then these conference tournament games I got to go through tonight here because the matchups keep getting settled as we speak.
Yeah, exactly. Follow Rob Bino over at wagertalk.com and online. Rob Bino Sports. Rob, thanks, buddy.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we got a stacked show tonight. We only have Kurtz for one segment here, so we'll get right down to business. George Kurtz with us, and we've been talking about these games and everything that's going on here. But we've got breaking news as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. And literally and figuratively, this is just like breaking news from, half an hour ago, etc. Garrett Cole undergoing diagnostic. Anytime you hear the word diagnostic, not good. Diabolical, diagnostic, not good. Garrett Cole is heading for diagnostic test on his throwing elbow. John Morosi reports it's currently unclear whether the Yankees fear a significant injury or the testing is of a precautionary measure in nature. I would say that there's nothing precautionary about this, actually, and there's a lot of concern right now. George Kurtz joins us, and we should note that the Yankees have already lost Rookie of the Year, Lewis Heel, to a severe lat strain as well. So the staff is getting hit hard before the season's even started. George Kurtz, what's your take?
Now, if you watched last night's preseason game, which I did because I'm that kind of person, Cole got lit up for 6 runs. Now, he didn't get hit hard. There were a couple of errors in the inning. So you have to keep that in mind here. But that seems to be what precipitated this, the fact that he got hit there yesterday, and then he's feeling some discomfort in the elbow here. Same problem he had a year ago at this time, right? And he didn't pitch till, June? I mean, I don't see him starting the season anymore. I got to assume something's wrong for them to undergo tests here. You call it diagnostic, diabolical, whether they could. And by the way, the Yankees will tell you they're not concerned. No, it's just precautionary. I mean,
diabolical test. Diabolical. That's good. Yes, diabolical.
So you're looking at. Remember, Stroman is now in the rotation, replacing Louis Heel.
Oh,
this Will Warren Will Warren would be the guy replacing Cole, by the way. The Yankee season is teetering on the brink right now. You already lost Stanton. You don't have a third baseman. I mean, it's a mess right now, a complete mess. If Cole was out for any length of time, the Yankees are in a lot of trouble and maybe time to go bet on your Boston Red Sox.
Well, what if Judge gets hurt now?
If Judge gets hurt, it's all over. It's all over.
That's what I was going to say. I don't want to say, and Judge does get hurt too. So I don't, and I don't want him to get hurt, but I'm just stating. All right, so the updated numbers right now, guys, and I guess people aren't panicking. People aren't paying attention to baseball right now and every little move, and it's just happened. But the Yankees are favored to win the division at plus 100. That's insanity. The Baltimore Orioles are at plus 260.
No thanks.
You guys know me. I keep fading the Orioles in the playoffs all the time, and I've been right. And I don't buy in, but I don't think the sky is falling on them. But plus 260, really not enough value. And you just said it here, Kurtz. Honestly, the Boston Red Sox are starting to look better and better every day, right? I mean, they figured out their stuff with Bregman and Devers and everything. We all knew that was going to work itself out. They are good, right? And they're feeling pretty confident. I know it's only spring training, Kurtz, but I know you've paid close attention to this stuff. And Red Sox are having a nice camp. Like, they're feeling good about themselves. Walker Buehler's look good. They're in play to win this division, bro. Like, they're in play to win this division.
Oh, I think they might be the team I bet on right now. I said I wasn't kidding about that. I'm not betting on Baltimore. Baltimore's a mess, by the way. They lost Grayson Rodriguez. All right, and Gunnar Henderson's hurt as well. Neither one's, I don't think, a long-term injury, but they're both unlikely to play opening day, especially Grayson Rodriguez here. We'll see about Henderson. And their rotation is now Eflin, Morton, Kramer. I mean, come on. So they got issues all over the place. The Red Sox, look good. Right, and they have a good young system, and we know they have the money. Whether or not they want to spend it or not, they have the money to go out and get replacements during the season, should they want to.
It looks like they're open for business again.
I like the Red Sox. I do like the Red Sox and what they've done here. I would take them over the. This is not the last injury the Yankees are going to have. All right, and like I said, they don't have anybody. Their farm system is good low. It doesn't have ready-made major league players here. The Yankees are going to have to go out and make a major move eventually here to replace some of these guys.
Man, the Blue Jays are 13-1. That's ridiculous. Everyone's got a sprinkle on them, even though they're not going to win. It's 13
if the Yankees have all these problems in Baltimore, like if things go well with the Jays, Boston is better than Toronto, but 13-1 to your point, Gabe.
I always bet on Toronto when they lose. I'm tired of losing.
13-1. Like,
I'm tired of losing with the Jays. Every year I take the Jays. I think, they're going to win the East. No, I'm not doing it again. I am not.
So maybe this is the year they actually do.
I had to write on the chalkboard. I am not betting the Rays. I am not betting the Rays. I am not betting the Rays.
It's like the book believes George with the Jays. I know. Every team sucks.
It's like the book, though, believes that Guerrero's going to get traded with that type of number.
You're right.
Like, when I look at that, it's like, why? It's a little bit extreme, but it's like they're seeing doom and gloom. But that is a crazy number at 13-1. All right, Cam, what's your take on the trade for the Seahawks and the Raiders? Who won the deal?
Seahawks won the deal. I'm going to miss Geno Smith. I have a different opinion than most. They have no offensive line, but they weren't going to go anywhere with him. We're stripping it down. Lockett, great years of service. One of my favorite Seahawks. And Jigba's the guy. Metcalf, for all of his good stuff, lots of bad. He's always bitching and complaining, and he wants out. You talk about it, Gabe. We got some good guys on defense. We need to build the offensive line. Here's the deal. Now we start from scratch. I will make a prediction on this show, and I've said it for 2 months. The Seattle Seahawks will draft Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. That is my prediction.
I don't know if they're starting from scratch, though. I think they needed to sort of start over, but I don't think McDonald. Yeah, but I don't think they're thinking, oh, you know what, we're going to be bad. The question is, what moves do they make now? I don't mind it from Seattle's perspective. I don't really like it from the Raiders' perspective. And I like Geno, but, you're giving up a third-round pick for a 35-year-old. You could Sam Darnold's 27 years old, right? Like, Geno Smith, George, does not make the Raiders a better football team. They just sort of plugged the hole. All right, we got a quarterback. We don't have to stress about it anymore. What's your take, George?
Well, if you would have asked me the same question we asked Cam, I would have said, didn't they both lose out of this? I mean, third-round pick, okay, we'll see. The Raiders, Geno, Mahomes, Herbert, Knicks. Okay, maybe you're better than Knicks, and we'll see how that works out, but you're not better than Mahomes or Herbert. I mean, what does this do for you? I mean, you're going to be in, once again, you're going to be in middling hell now. He's better than what you had, Minshew and whoever the other guy was. I can't even remember right now. O'Connell. So he's better than that. But what are you hoping for? 7, 8 wins? I mean, that's all he's going to give you here. You have to build around, and by the time you build around him, now he's older and older here. I just don't see how this makes sense here. Other than Pete Carroll is now happy and he's got someone he knows here. So I might say
that's the only thing. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. That's the line in the sand, though. That's the only thing that Pete Carroll's a young 74, but he's 74. You know what I mean? Like, he's not a young dude. So, you know what I mean? I don't think he has the patience, all right, let's draft a quarterback with the 6th pick. Or they don't think that Shador was going to be there because we know Ward's going to be gone by then. I think it was a Pete Carroll thing. He liked Geno Smith, and you know what? It plugs that hole, and they're going to try to go at it right away. We'll see what Seattle does. Jackson Dart will be a nice fit for Seattle. The problem is Jackson Dart is going to be drafted a lot higher than people think. Right, like he's going to be drafted. Like he's definitely, he could be drafted in the top 10, whatever. Like he could be gone.
You know what, Gabe? I liked what you said on Twitter because you named all the guys, and I know he has the worst thrower. What is Seattle's weakness, guys? O-line. Fields can at least run around and give you first downs. Darnold's not going to help Seattle. Cousins is playing on borrowed time. Good point by you, Morency. And I was thinking the exact same thing. Fields, new start, whatever. You go draft another quarterback. You can live with him. That's my take. And that was your take. And I think it's a fantastic one because he moves sticks. The other guys are immobile. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the league. You need a guy who can move.
Yeah, I think Seattle, listen, Justin Fields could be a fit in a couple of places. Now you're hearing the Jets, which I actually said a couple of weeks ago that if I was the Jets, I would reach out. What do you think what's your prediction, George? They have to have something up their sleeve here. They're not just blowing this thing up not to compete. McDonald has a good defense. Who do you think the next quarterback in Seattle is going to be?
I think it's either Cam's right, they're drafting a rookie here, or it's Sam Darnold. Either go all in on a rookie, we'll build around him, we'll eat it for a year or two, or it's Sam Darnold.
Adam Schefter's tweeting out Seattle Sam Darnold talk right now already for the record.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drifts. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Let's do this thing. The Friday Night Freak Show. We're rolling along here. It's 95-81 for the Denver Nuggets over the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are a fake team, guys. This team is like the sun has set there in Phoenix. They didn't break it up at the trade deadline. They really should have. Durant, started turning down deals, and Bradley Beal rejected it. Like, normally, it's a bizarro world. Like in the NBA, normally players want to abandon when things start going bad. They're like, I want out. And in Phoenix, things were going bad, but everybody didn't want to leave. Like, they all said, listen, we wanted to come here and play here, but it's not working out. And, like, the ownership is like, I want to get rid of you guys. It hasn't worked. But they're all like, no, we like it here. We don't want to go. But word is they are going to trade Kevin Durant in the offseason. And now, Booker eventually is going to say, screw this. I'm done. I'll throw something out there hot for everybody right now. We know the Detroit Pistons are getting close and stuff and good. Devin Booker's from Michigan. Go out and get Devin Booker if you're the Pistons next year. Just sort of bump it a little, raise it up a notch on other teams in the East. College basketball. Let's send it to Vegas right now. Tony Finn steps up and in. And Tony, good to see you tonight. UNLV playing their best basketball of the year. Yeah. Listen, they were getting 12.5 tonight. They're down by 1 right now with 6 minutes left. 64-63. They've been hanging around all night in this game.
Yeah. I listen, I didn't jump on either side of this. I haven't been extremely successful with New Mexico this year. It seems like every time I felt like I had a good spot for them, I disappointed myself or they disappointed me, one of the two. Either way, we still lost. I did like the over in this game, over 147. 148 right in there is what I think closed at, and played that. I got 147.5. Like that. Like some games earlier today. Took a little beating with Portland. Portland led this whole game till about 5 minutes. Well, it started getting closer in the second stanza, should I say, in the final 10 minutes. And then they imploded there at the end, trying to play catch up.
Very similar to the Pacific game, Tony. Like, Pacific was leading in that game against San Diego, and they gagged down the stretch too. Very shady call late in that game. But that's the thing. Portland game, they had Pepperdine on the ropes, and then they just went cold right at the end of the game. It was really weird.
Yeah, the common theme between both those games and teams, bad teams. Bad teams blow leads.
Right.
Bad teams.
That's
Bad teams suck. Bad teams.
You bet on a Portland game, you deserve what you get. Like, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. Like,
I was on Pacific, but they're a bad team too.
Yeah, if you look at those two teams I just mentioned, that was Pepperdine and Portland, 241 and 261 per KenPom and his metrics. So you're right. Two teams that aren't even close to being big dance worthy. Heck, they're probably not NIT worthy, maybe no tournament at all for either one of those two teams.
No, they still have the CIT, maybe the CBI or CIT or one of those. Yeah. So for me, the last couple of days, Tony, I've been jumping in and attacking these conference tournaments. Right, I bet like 8 games earlier, like the Ashevilles and the Southeast Missouri States in the world and stuff. I did pretty well, and I've been staying away from the big time conferences. The games don't really mean anything, right? I know that I get it. They're playing for seeding, and seeding does matter at the top end of this stuff. But at the same point, like we saw with Auburn earlier, like a lot of these teams, whatever, like they're playing for March Madness is around the corner. So I've been focusing more on the sort of conference tournament games. But what do you like tomorrow, either in the top 25 big-time action or conference tournament action? What do you like tomorrow?
Well, I've been working on it for the last 4 or 5 hours because tomorrow is typically one of my favorite days, or at least leading up to my favorite weekend, a day that is important to a lot of teams. Most of them are the smaller, or outside of the Power Six, let's say. But I do like a couple games. I do like I like Providence against Xavier, getting some points. Xavier's played much better. Listen, they were a big fade for me early in the season. They were money for me early. They once they started playing a little better, playing up to their skill set or their pay grade, call it what you want. They've been a little tougher, but it's never an easy spot for a road team, especially one that's inconsistent like Xavier. Give me Providence plus the points. I think they're about a 4 p.m. Eastern, which would be about a 1 o'clock Vegas time. And the other games that I like are in the Big 12. There's still a lot of question marks in the Big 12, and I'm going to pull up. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'll pull it up, and I'll pull up some of the schedules. So I'll get the updated lines because my head's been buried in my keyboard and some notes and stuff. But a top 25, Kentucky, Missouri. I really like the over. Missouri was miserable in Texas last week as a road favorite. They've only been a road favorite 3 times this year. Now they're 1-2. Both the last games, Vanderbilt and Texas, are losses as small favorites on the road. The other game I like Whiskey against Penn State. I know they're laying double digits here. I think the last time I saw it was laying 1.5. But this is in the Big Ten. I think outside of Michigan, I even think they're better than Michigan State. I should say. I think they're a little more balanced. Michigan State can't shoot the 3. Whiskey over Penn State, double digits, 15-20 right in that area.
Tony Finn in the house with us. Got another big time matchup tomorrow. Like I said, the games matter and they don't, but it is rivalry Saturday. You got North Carolina and Duke again, but Alabama and Auburn are playing, and you got a total of 178.5. They played earlier and it was 94-85. So they did. It was a track meet, and so you've got Auburn coming off a rare loss. They lost earlier in the week at Texas A&M. And you got Alabama, who stumbled a little bit right now. Alabama have lost 4 of their last 6 games, although it's a murderer's row in the SEC. I always kind of thought Alabama a little flawed, Tony. I've watched a lot of them this year.
Oh, yeah.
They're good, but like in the NCAA tournament, I think they'll make it to like the Elite 8 or so. Like they're good. They're going to make it to the Elite 8. They could make it to the Final 4, but the pace that they play at, the lack of consistency with their shooting, it's going to catch up to them. What do you think of this game tomorrow? They're getting 7.5.
Well, so Auburn, they lost the game last week, which is headlines, right? It didn't happen very often this season. I think we're 27-3 overall. So 15-3 in 60% of their games against Q1 competition. They're 27-3, 15-3 in those Q1 games, 6-2 on the road.
It's pretty
Auburn's
crazy.
The real deal.
Dude, I saw that. Exactly. Auburn guys have played like 19 games against top 10 teams this year.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. So it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drips. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Loyola Marymount are off and running, and we had to get a piece of Loyola Marymount. What did I parlay? I got so many different weird picks tonight. Yeah, I went with the all LA special tonight. I was going to bring this up. I forgot. I sort of get a picks, but I took the LA Clippers on the money line and Loyola Marymount on the money line. Downtown LA special. Let's roll. Marymount are up 14-8 right now on San Diego. And the Clippers were up 66-59. No Brunson, obviously, for the Knicks. He's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks right now. Quick check. 77-71 Colorado State over Boise. New Mexico starting to pull away a little bit. Vino laid the 9.5. It's 71-64 with 3.5 left. SIU sounds like a SIU crime special intent order show or something like SIU. SIU. Dun, dun. Yeah. SIU Edwardsville. Welcome to Edwardsville. Yeah. The crimes at Edwardsville. Speaking of which, I see tomorrow they show the ticket prices next to the odds here on ESPN. Alabama and Auburn, tickets as low as $261. So, in other words, people in Alabama have a choice: pay a month's rent or go to a basketball game.
Yeah, tough call. Groceries or the game.
And I wish I had a little drum there.
Yeah. Where's the
sorry, it was a tee shot.
Going back. Bang.
Yeah, I got to get one. Yeah. Boom.
Song's amazing. Bring it back, Gabe. Bring it back.
All right. So what else we got going on here on the way out? Like I said, my head is spinning. Tony, quickly. Geno Smith, Raiders. You like the deal? Yes or no?
I like the deal for the Raiders. I can't imagine that that deal actually happened. But then I couldn't imagine, Luka going for AD either. So some things,
let's not compare Geno Smith to Luka Doncic's deal here.
Well,
wasn't that big
my God-given right.
Yeah, I'll even admit that one, Gabe. I'm a Seahawks guy. That's stretching, Tony.
He compares it. He's like, "Wow, we expect Luka."
Tony's the man.
Well, I was comparing the surprise to. I was.
We didn't see it coming. No one saw it coming. Exactly. No. Listen, it's not terrible for the Raiders. Geno's serviceable, and you know what I mean.
Yep.
It's just, listen, it is what it is. It's nothing great for either team. It just, we'll see what the Seahawks do. We'll see what the Seahawks do next. All right, so 2-0 now for the Vegas Golden Knights, Cam. I thought they were to play tonight. It hasn't been easy for them, but it's 2-0 right now. 17 minutes left. 2-1 for the Blues over the Ducks right now after 2 periods of play. And, I'm proud of myself. I had the feel. I was like, this is going to be a low-scoring game with Vancouver and Minnesota. 1-0, in-game total 3.5. We got the under 5.5. We're on the Canucks. I want to get the updated Stanley Cup futures. So, Cam, who did you think won the trade deadline today in the NHL?
Well, obviously Colorado, because this team is just getting better and deeper all the time. I think Brock Nelson is huge for them. To your point, the Leafs did well with, they don't have a lot of money, but they did very, very well. And Dallas, obviously, to get another sniper. The Western Conference is going to be an absolute, literally gunfight. So you got to have...
Here's the updated numbers.
Yeah.
The Panthers and Stars are the favorites now. The Panthers are plus 500. You're getting pretty good numbers with all these teams. Panthers are plus 500. They bring in Brad Marchand, and they bring in Seth Jones this week. They should get Kachuk back for the playoffs. Dallas Stars, dangerous. They get Rantanen, plus 600. The Oilers didn't do anything, and people are flipping out in Edmonton about it. The Avs, 9-1, man. Pretty good number for the Avs. Can't dismiss the Vegas Golden Knights. Washington Capitals, I just don't believe the Capitals are making it to the Stanley Cup. Carolina Hurricanes, who's on the Canes anymore?
Yeah,
how the hell are the Canes 12-1?
Yeah, the Leafs are 13.
Who even plays on that team, Cam? They lost everybody.
Oh, the Leafs suck. Yeah, you're telling me Carolina's better than Toronto? Get bent, losers. The Leafs at least are a better team than Carolina. And I'll tell you another thing.
No, the Leafs at 13-1 is not a bad number, guys. The Leafs are good. The Leafs are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender.
I know they're losers, but I'm just going to say one thing. I don't do very smart things all the time, and Tony knows that. You know that. But I got Dallas earlier and Colorado earlier, and now their lines are absolutely low. I got the best of the best before the trade deadline, and I'm happy about it, Morency.
Tony Finn. Maybe there's some Stanley Cup run coming in Vegas, Tony.
Please say no.
Well, that'd be good. Good.
No,
it's hot by then, be hot. We'll be able to get on this next to the ice and cool down a little
If
bit.
the
It'll be
Vegas
100
couple nights
degrees.
in the Stanley
in
Cup
April.
game, I'm jumping off my roof. Like no.
What, if Vegas wins again?
Yes. I'm gonna do something stupid.
I want it to be a Vancouver-Toronto final. I'll accept Winnipeg and Toronto. Other than that, you're on your own later.